Chapter 729. All of the blades were destroyed, drifting off into the air in the form of spiritual energy. Just then, Cyrus disappeared once again. Wilbur stood still, standing firm. Cyrus seemed to have disappeared completely. However, next to Wilbur, the air rippled as the ghost sword slowly moved toward Wilbur. A wide, crazed grin appeared on Cyrus' invisible face. The ghost sword had the ability to decay anything, as well as take on the powers of the person wielding it, in Cyrus' case, his invisibility. Anyone who even came into the slightest bit of contact with the ghost sword would be in critical condition at once. Wilbur might be powerful, but Cyrus was not worried in the slightest. Cyrus was certain that he was unstoppable with the ghost sword. Just then, up to 100 ninjas had surrounded Yumi and the rest. Yumi gripped her swords, exploding with sanctuary-level energy as she slashed wildly at the ninjas. However, there were too many of them, and Yumi still had her own men to take care of, thus she could not watch over Wilbur's battle against Cyrus. Just as the ghost sword had made its way over to Wilbur's waist, and Cyrus was about to plunge it in, a ray of silver light shot out, striking an invisible Cyrus in the forehead. Cyrus was overcome with dizziness, his invisibility fading as he showed himself. "Give me that, you!" Wilbur shouted the words, snatching the ghost sword from him before swinging the cleaver at his waist. Cyrus could hardly contain his shock, stumbling backward with all his might. He managed to avoid Wilbur's attack by a hair's breadth. Cyrus stared at Wilbur, in disbelief and shock. "How did you sense me?" he howled wildly. Wilbur smiled, paying him no mind. The idiot had crept right up to Wilbur. Wilbur would be a fool to not sense him even though he was invisible. Wilbur's powerful spirit energy was not to be messed with. He turned the ghost sword in his hand and nodded. It was a mid-tier sacrifice. That should do. Just then, Cyrus drew a rune in the air with his hands before shouting, "Ghostly Soul Killer." All at once, a cloud of gray smoke burst out of the ghost sword into Wilbur's face. Wilbur could not dodge in time and froze in place. Cyrus laughed loudly, making his way over to Wilbur. "You fool! Did you think a lowlife like you could touch something as precious as the ghost sword? Now that you know how powerful it is, you can experience it while you slowly rot to death." Yumi's eyes widened in shock. She knew that the ghost sword was powerful, but did not think that it could still be activated to attack after it was taken away. Wilbur had been struck. There was no cure for the decaying powers once they entered his body, not even if he was of sanctuary level. Wilbur had been defeated, and Cyrus now had the ghost sword again. All of them were done for. All at once, Yumi's chest filled with hopelessness. Just then, Beanie's eyes flashed with pained look from where she had been standing behind Yumi all along. The dagger in Beanie's hands, however, had made its way into Yumi's back mercilessly. It had pierced through her skin by the time Yumi realized it. She lunged forward in shock, slaying the few ninjas in front of her before turning to look at Beanie in shock. "Please forgive me, madam." Beanie stumbled backward as a gigantic wound appeared on Yumi's back, emitting a foul stench. The dagger was laced with poison.